This is episode 159 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dio Morales, and today I'm joined by Marcel, quote-unquote, Manzano.
Oh, I forgot to write something. I probably wrote something 20 minutes ago, and it got deleted by now.
Oh, okay. So
you think sarcasm stands.
You're blaming it on me? You're blaming it on me. All right. I see how it is.
A leader owns it. Yeah.
Ryan, stand up. Staniszewski.
You want to read that again?
Squad up.
Yeah. Squad up, everyone.
Yep.
On all digital platforms in which you play video games.
And will everything we judge in other is something. That is exactly what I read. Exactly what is something.
Everything we judge in others is something within ourselves we don't want to face. Think about that.
That's pretty deep, man. That's pretty deep.
That's pretty deep.
Why do I see Williams like just a big
blur?
My camera fell.
Today is a day, everybody. Today is a day.
I plugged it in.
We're good. How's everybody? We're Gold Squadron Podcast. If you are listening live rather than watching, you're probably super confused and asking all the questions. You know, whatever. We're good. How are you? We're fine. So we're gonna go ahead and start with news. If you hadn't heard, we're gonna be changing our streaming schedule. Okay, we're going to be changing our our screaming schedule, but specifically our streaming schedule. We'll go ahead and bring it up here. We posted it on Facebook and on Discord. So we have Mondays from 9:30. I know that we started late today. We're super sorry. 9:30 to 11 is, of course, the Gold Squadron podcast. On Wednesdays is X-Wing League Night. That's not changing at all. But what will change in the future, though, is as we are allowed to go back into stores and play, the X-Wing League Night would be in-person play with people at League, or if for whatever reason, I'm sick or something, I'll of course do it from home, from TTS. But as of right now, essentially, it's going to be Dion versus people, or Gold Squadron podcast hosts versus people. That is what League Night will be. Then Saturdays from 5 to 10 p.m. is going to be Gold Squadron Flight Club. You might be saying, hey, that sounds familiar. Yes, we did a one-time event we called Flight Club. And it's like, you know what? I think it's time to bring back the name and give it a different twist. So the idea of Flight Club is scheduled events of viewers versus viewers, or set up scrimmages versus big name players, people who make the cut, just feature matches. There's all different types of things that we can do and create. It's going to be a 3-round event every Saturday. Okay, this will be commentated. We got live stats, everything. Essentially, it's a 3-round mini event every single week, and yes, you are allowed to talk about Flight Club. Super excited about it. 3 times a week. Basically, a couple of things that are happening. In case you're behind or didn't hear last week, the Paint Cast, if you didn't remember, is no longer going to be happening. Luke has decided to discontinue the Paint Cast, which is why there is no Paint Cast on Thursdays anymore. Those of you who joined me for the Brick Cast when we were working on some Legos, I appreciate your support in that. Those of you who were hanging out, but when I was talking to people as a community, people were essentially saying, Dion, we want more X-Wing. We just need more X-Wing content. Can you give it to us? And I was like, okay, I can do that. Now, you might be wondering, why is League Night starting so much later than it has been lately? Well, I've started my Masters program. Today was actually day 1, so that's part of the reason I'm a little out of it. I spent all day in classes today and working on homework. Then, of course, our Arwen came home. That's my daughter. Getting her ready. So it was just a little out of sorts, getting used to the schedule. But don't worry. Gold Squadron's not going anywhere, and this schedule fits really nicely with my classes. We should be good to go. We're hoping. So if you guys have any questions about the stream schedule, let us know right now in the chat. I think we answered everything on there. People were asking about all the stuff. It's a master's degree, not a PhD. So people, not yet. Not yet.
Real quick. So I don't know if you guys can see. Let me go a little bit more. A little more. A little. Wait. Yeah, right there. Somewhere up there. There's fires, so that means that stuff is opening back up. So there's people out at those restaurants now, which means X-Wing in person is right around the corner. I am so excited.
Soon.
Excited.
Awesome. And the other announcement that we have is that Gold Squadron is going to be partnering with ourselves and some other content creators, but specifically with the Twin Sons charities, also known as, or the part of Campaign Against Cancer falls under Twin Sons charities. We're going to be helping them out with a 24-hour live stream that's going to be happening. It's going to feature Gold Squadron. It's going to feature the Perth Jawas, Florida Man, recon specialists, and we have some other things that we're trying to get planned in there. It should be really, really fun. I'm trying to remember the exact date right now. I'm actually looking in the planning.
Should be July 17th through the 18th. Like starts late 17th and goes to all the way through the 18th.
Yes, there you go. It's the 17th starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, so 6 p.m. Central. And 24 hours from there. We're not entirely sure what our role as Gold Squadron is going to be, but you guys know it's going to be X-Wing related, most likely. And yeah, it should be pretty fun. I'm excited for it. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. As soon as we have more information on exactly what's going to be going down, look forward to us, talking about that and just bringing you guys that content. Now, what is the plan for today? What are we doing today? Well, as you guys know, around the corner is a points change. If you guys hadn't heard, or is probably a points change, I have to put it that way. And for our first topic today, we're going to go through each one of us, and if we could only have one thing that goes up in points, down in points, or stays the same, what would those be? Now, before I opened this form up to the guys, I said, listen, here's the plan, but let's go ahead and talk first. Let's just get this out of the way and talk about Boba Fett and Slave One, because that is immediately what people are talking about. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and get that out of the way, because by unanimous opinion, we have to put it, we can't say decision, but opinion, all four of us said, the question I stated in our document, in our notes, was, which do you think will go up more, Slave One or Boba Fett? And all of us said Slave One. So that's out of the wind. How much, we don't know. That we could argue on the exact number of points all day. That's not what we're here 10. For. Sure. Okay, not here to argue that. We're just asking, what do we think needs to go up, what needs to go down, and what needs to stay the same. Okay? Now, some people in the chat are asking, why not both? Well, that wasn't the question. The question was if you had to choose one. Okay, but here we go. We're going to get started, and we're going to start with Will. Will is going to reveal to us what he wants to go up, down, stay the same, and why. Will, take it away. All
right, let's get started with the up. because that's how you have it in your graphic there. I want passive sensors to go up. Okay, but there's a caveat on this. I think it should be have some sort of variable pricing. Okay, we've never seen a upgrade, or we've never seen an upgrade have essentially two qualifications for variable pricing, which I understand could get very confusing. But if possible, this is a wish list. So we're going extreme. I would like it based on the first factor of, do you already have a lock action? And if you don't already have a lock action, it should go up significantly. And then a second question being, what is your initiative? Now, passive sensors was always intended for low initiative, so ships moving earlier, to get locks for munitions. We've seen it used very effectively on generic Zetas and SFs of, I forget the other one. What's the other one that's not Zeta? Omega? No one ever flies it. Man, we saw a lot of success with that. And at that price point, it did its job. It got those munition carriers who had access to it those shots that they needed. So it might not necessarily need to go up for them, probably a little bit, but I think the main point is Whisper and Darth Vader are the two biggest people who are abusing passive sensors. Vader, who can take actions after passive sensors, so he can lock and then barrel roll, or then focus, or do whatever he feels like. And then Whisper, who already doesn't have a target lock, and now can choose to lock in the engagement phase. And in most lists we've seen her that passive sensors triggers as the last shot for the squad. So if the two other ships happen to kill something, well, you're not locking them, you can lock somebody else. So it gives so much more to Vader and Whisper than it ever would a generic SF. So that's what the main thing is. I would like to see it price hiked for anybody who didn't already bring a target lock action, right? We're talking lambdas, we're talking phantoms, things of that nature. I don't have another example for that, but so passive sensors going up. So let's go to the next thing. What's the next thing in your order? Down?
Yep.
All right, now this is controversial. Ready for some controversy? The points I want to go down is NaN Tex. Now hold on.
Riots, fire, destruction.
Before you press enter on that chat comment, here's the reason. We've seen a long maybe not long, but throughout this entire hyperspace season, I have never once seen a NaN Tex in hyperspace. Why? Because Ensnare is not available in hyperspace. So a NaN Tex without Ensnare is borderline useless. I think we could. Can you guys back me up on this? Is that
it's true?
There's no reason not to, right?
Yeah. So would you theoretically hand in hand, if NaN Tex go down and snares still go up a little to like balance it back out and extend it, but maybe the overall goes down a little, but the NaN Tex base goes down a lot?
Correct. I'm talking maybe not the base one. The base one's pretty cheap at like 32 points or something.
The base chassis.
34.
Just the base chassis for all the pilots, right?
Correct. I want that thing to go down like 7 points, right? Like I want the generic, I want Gargle to be like 29 points, right? Like he's 4 health, 3 agility, 2 attack dice. I mean, they got 3 in the bullseye. So maybe 7 might be extreme. But, and then yes, of course, inversely, increase in snare and graviton deflection, which actually isn't bad if you're not taking in snare. I don't know if it's graviton deflection is hyperspace legal, but still, that hasn't been enough that reroll hasn't been enough to keep them in hyperspace. So maybe graviton deflection goes up like 1 or 2 points to balance it out, I guess a little bit. But like I said, without ensnare, NaN Tex are terrible. They need.
I'm just gonna say this.
Yes.
Imagine a NaN Tex.
Imagine a world.
No, seriously. Imagine a NaN Tex being similar to a Seek, and that they're 4 health, and just the NaN Tex with the rotating arc just permanently stapled to the front. 3 agility ship, 4 health, bullseye, get an extra die. Now you get it at range 3 as well with them, not with the Seeks and an auto blaster. And you see what Octocon has been able to do with that. So I would just be a little bit.
So let's price point.
3 agility ships. Yeah, 3 agility ships are hard to kill.
I can get on that boat, and I will note that that cartel spacer you are proposing, which has a similar stat line and a 4 dice gun in the front arc, or excuse me, in the bullseye, is 28 points. The base Hive Guard is 34. So I'm gonna reduce my estimate of 7 down to 6. I think that they should be the same price because M3As can barrel roll without being tractored, which I think gives them an advantage in that matchup.
Yeah, I'm good with that. And also, they got a shield versus a hull. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
3 agility, and the post that I responded
comparison.
to, Ryan Farmer put one in the Fly Better page saying, "What would you like to see go up?" I put the Seeks that I'd like to see.
Seeks do need to go up, but that's a different topic.
But yeah, I mean, if and again,
let me wrap up.
Go up. Yeah.
Let me wrap up mine, and then I'll give you the floor to talk about how bad Seeks need to go up.
Order.
Because I just got one last one, and that is the stay the same. And I think CLT Aether sprites are okay. The CLT chassis is difficult to utilize its potential, but because it has such a low floor where you could fly around just shooting 2 attack dice, you're single modding your defense with maybe just a focus token, right? But when the ceiling of them is so high, if you're flying well, if you're taking target locks and getting past focus tokens and lining up range 1 bullseyes out of arc, you know what I mean? Like the potential for them is so high that I can see how people don't like them, especially in numbers. I could certainly see the 4 and 5 CLT Jedi is pretty strong if you're not accustomed to how these ships maneuver. But I still think that because of the bullseye restriction, normally only single modifying 3 agility on defense, that they are comparable. They seem to be doing just fine. I actually like to see both the Jedi Knights and Obi-Wan and Anakin, so the full range of pilots for that chassis, being utilized. I think that's a good mark of a good price point.
All right, excellent. Well, now the rule breaker himself, as I'm noticing at the moment, Marcel Manzano, you are up.
What the what?
You rule breaker.
How am I breaking the rules?
It clearly says 1, and you put 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I count that as 1 though. Even though that 1 is on multiple ships and on multiple chassis, it's okay.
You're ruining the symmetry of Minecraft. It's fine.
Hey, you're the tech Guru, you're gonna
It's
figure
my
this out.
problem. Figure it out. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's what the leader do, man. That's what the leader do. All right, so we're going with up first, right?
Yep.
Okay, so up. The thing that I want to go up, and Ryan, William, Dion, feel free to fight me on any of these because I love a good fight. Is I don't think you're gonna fight me though. It's Discord missiles and grappling struts. So I got both, you know. And really, the reason that I went with both of these is you're not seeing as many of these show up in tournaments in terms of like the total overall of the whole, right? They're always in the cut, but you're not seeing a lot of these separatist lists show up as the percentage of the whole. They're a lower percentage, but they make a higher percentage of the cut, which means they're still overpowered, in my opinion. It's just that they are an acquired taste to fly. They are definitely an acquired taste to fly against. I can't think of a single person who says, "Oh, I'm faced up, you know, I'm lined up against this separatist storm." You know, whoopee.
This is fine.
People who are still bringing trajectories. That's who don't care.
Yeah, maybe. Like, it just doesn't happen. It's like, no, this is automatically not going to be fun. Even if you got a favorable matchup. Like, I had a favorable matchup in, I don't know if William, maybe it was in our team tournament or something else. I just know I had a favorable matchup like a week ago, and it was still the most miserable game to play because it's just I'm not a fan of separatist, but still the percentage of people who bring Discord and grappling strut to the percentage of the cut, like when you do all the math, which I am not gonna do, I'm sure you guys already did, is just terrible. I don't know how much they would go up by, but I would imagine grappling struts just go up by 1 point is enough. And the Discord missiles, I think the Discord missiles probably should go up by 2, like up to 6. I think that would kind of like even things out a bit.
They had originally started at 6 points.
Yeah, put them back at that. And then the grappling struts at 2. Because I've seen, you know, for example, in that other list that Ryan, the one that Ryan beat me with in the, I forgot, the Gold Squadron, was it a
showdown?
Yeah, in that one, you had some with and some without, right?
No, all my vultures had struts. My hyenas
No, but you
didn't.
had something that didn't.
Yeah,
And I think-
the hyenas didn't.
Yeah, and I think that probably adds a little bit more complexity, and you know, when you have to choose, like, okay, I'm gonna give the struts to these versus that versus being and not include on everything. I think that adds a little bit of complexity, so I like that. Anyway, enough separatist hate.
So I will retort a little. I'm not against the separatists being adjusted. They are a bit above most of the meta. Discords up 1, sure. Up 2, maybe. I mean, we never saw them see play at 6, but they weren't really used because people didn't really know what to do with them. Maybe that's the case. Struts, I think it'll just it's a multiplicative issue if you add another point to it. I'm of the opinion that I think you increase the base vulture chassis by 2 and make struts 0. Now that sounds like you're basically increasing the total combined package by 1 point, but you're making it less confusing for opponents and people trying to understand what ships have struts, what ships don't. It streamlines it. And while, sure, some people may be concerned that, like, oh man, everyone's got the ability to have struts now, that's crazy, that's OP, and like, I think a lot of people still don't get these ships aren't dash Rendar. So, I mean, if you feel like struts will have to cost something, I would just increase the vulture chassis back up by 1, maybe. It's such a fine line because all these costs are so multiplicative. but I think lessen confusion, make struts free, make the combined cost what it should be. If it's up by 2, if it's up by 3, whatever they feel the need to do.
Okay. I don't disagree wholly, but enough to disagree partially. Because I just like that extra choice of giving people the option to load them out a little bit more. But I think you were reading my notes there, Mr. Ryan, because I think we can jump on to the next.
Oh, nope, that was not even referenced in that purpose, but sure. Segue!
No segue. You know, we're on the same wavelength there, buddy. So yeah, going down is the YT 2400, and this is 1,000,000% love to my buddy who I haven't seen in a long time. I need to see you. Actually, I just realized I look like a zombie here. Okay, here we go. Put some light on. Brandon Prokos, we need to get you back with Dash Rendar love. So it's a little bright. Good Lord. Okay. Yeah, so the YT 2400, I think it needs to go down by. Now, this is a good question. I actually looked at it. There's 77 points. I'm just talking about the generics. There's 77 points. The 1300, the Falcon is at 67 points. So that's a whole 10 points less. And then you have the other big ship in the Rebels, which is the VCX at 72, which is much, much lower. And they're 16 hull. And they're also throwing 4 dice. So they really need to be in that 69 to 70 point range, I think. So maybe bringing them down by 7 or 8 points. And I think Dash also, like a fully loaded Dash, should be not fully loaded, like a comparable Dash to what you would get with a Boba, because Boba is the same level of if you have a really good Boba, you can do a whole lot. So like a really good Dash should be at about 110 points, I think. I don't know, Dion. You've got like wide-eyed here. What do you think a really good Dash? I'm talking about Dash with the ability, with a title, and maybe Perceptive Co-Pilot. Like, what do you think that should be around?
I was actually working on the next graphic.
I just saw wide eyes.
I was.
You were not listening. Okay, it is Dash
yes, thank you.
Outrider,
I was trying to keep it. Yeah,
Perceptive Co-Pilot.
You're terrible. All right. So your question was, see, now you're making me look bad as I'm trying to. All right, Dash Rendar.
This is the theme of the Fearless Leader. Come on, bring us home.
Outrider, and what was the other thing you wanted on there? Perceptive Co-Pilot.
Perceptive, or just some other way to like mod an offense and a defense.
Well, so that Perceptive Co-Pilot would make it good, for sure. But I think for the problem that I have is I know that you want to be able to mod offense and defense at the same time. I understand that. But if you're going to do that, it's got to cost you. That's like there has to be a downside to it. There has to be some like I don't think Dash should be well yes, you're right. But we've already addressed the fact that Boba Fett is too good. His at least some of his tools need to go up in cost. For Dash Rendar right now with Perceptive Co-Pilot and Outrider, it's 113 points. Is 105 too few? I mean, it's still more than half the list. Because I know that some people go like, "Oh, that's over half the list already." It's like, well, it's a 4 dice gun. Everything you got to think about what you would pay for to have a 4 dice gun almost every shot that can ignore obstacles essentially. Because if you look at the way the text reads, it says it reduces one die, but it doesn't ignore the
before you
asteroid.
get further in that, let me say one thing. Hera, Syndulla, Initiative 5, advanced sensors. Basically shot every turn and let's even give her ion cannons. And so that means she gets basically change her dial, always gets a shot, always gets an action, always gets dual arcs, and 3 dice or 4 dice, depending on where. Because, dash run, they'll get 3 dice. That is 72 plus 10, 82, plus, I don't know, the other one. But anyway, it's like 90 points. It's less than 100. So you're talking about that's like 90-something points for Hera at Initiative 5 being able to...
You said Hera Advanced Sensors Ion Cannon? Is that what you said?
Yeah, what is that?
That's
Are you
87.
putting it in?
That's 87.
How much?
87.
Oh my God, I was thinking 90-something. That's 87. Now, you're talking Deshrendar, because he still has to take an action to turn the arc. He still has to take an action to bear a roll or do some type of, post positioning. And now he's only got 10 health versus 14.
Okay, but
so that's upsetting. And he's 115 points or something like that.
But let me rebut you here. You got to make sure you're thinking about Hera the right way. Yes, Advanced Sensors is good on her, but she still is limited by stress. She's still limited by stress. She doesn't get the 3. There's no 9 nub shenanigans because it doesn't work anymore. So you're now
okay, throw Leia, and there's now she's you said 70.
So we're throwing Leia crew.
Sure, why not?
Okay, so that brings it up to 94 points.
Still about 20 points below Dash.
Okay, fair. But if I bring Dash down to 105, now we have a smaller difference, right?
Yeah.
But then you take away the. I mean, she still has to pay attention to stress. Dash can ignore the obstacles and then use the obstacles to clear. I think that's worth 10 points, if not more. We'll agree to disagree.
Dash is good?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if Dash becomes too cheap, Dash becomes oppressive.
I agree. I mean, a 80-point Dash is not what I want.
Right.
Brandon will be happy.
I mean,
will not.
sure. Like what I think. Do I think it should go down? Sure. But you're asking me to argue the other side, so I'm going to argue this. I will ride or die.
The original question was, what do you think is the appropriate points?
I told you I don't like to play the numbers game and try to give you an exact number. Should it go down some? Sure. Let it go down some. Let it go down 3 points and see what happens. That's
3?
it. 3. That's it.
God.
You got to go slow. Come on. If they go too low, and you get other combinations of things, and there's dash everywhere. There's dash everywhere. Can you imagine? Could you imagine the tears and the outcry from the people? I can feel it. I can see it. Go ahead, Will.
I would, if you're going to mess with the 2400 at all, I would only change the cost of Outrider. That way, it stops multiple fringers or Lebo and Dash, or making them too cheap to where you can get those multiples in there. And at 14 points, granted, it can strip target locks when you hit an obstacle, which is pretty fancy. It just never seems worth it. You can't hit them enough obstacles for it to work. I tried it with like K2 on Dash, but K2... so give yourself a stress calculate, hit a debris, clear the stress, profit. But even then, it didn't feel that I got enough for that ability. I would only use maybe every other round. So it does have some other benefits of you don't have obstructed shots, which is pretty good for Dash. But that's what I would do. I think the fringes are already pretty cheap. It's funny that you reference one of the ships that got the biggest decrease in the last points updates for Rebels, which was the 2400. They used to be over 85 points. The Wild Space fringes.
When's the last time you played against one?
Against one? Never. I'm always the one flying them. So there's something to that. I think here's what it really comes down to, is that Rebel, and you said to yourself, Marcel, the first thing I'm strapping on this, thing is more mods, and Rebels don't have, I don't know, 10 mods. 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 10 the best ways to get additional mods. The Force user, which is what, just Kanan and Luke, Ezra Bridger. All those are too expensive to just slap on for just a single Force point. Things like Perceptive don't do enough because Dash actually wants to do barrel rolls and fancy maneuvers and not actually sit around just double focusing. So I think it's a lack of options for them. And Limbo doesn't even get crew, so he doesn't even have those options. So he's stuck with just a listed thing. So I think they simply don't have the tools. If there was some sort of large base illicit, large base.
He's trying to silence you with subs.
I see that. If there was some sort of large base illicit, that might help.
If you can't win them, buy them.
There you go. See. I just don't think that they don't have enough tools, and the tools they have are too expensive. So I don't think it's a chassis problem. I think it's an options problem.
All right, fair. All right, Marcel, what should stay the same?
What did I write down? Whatever I wrote down should stay the same. I wrote Resistance A-Wings.
You'd be a terrible actor. You'd be the worst actor. The worst actor.
What?
Ever. You're a terrible actor.
Well, I'm going by the script. I would not improvise. I would be a terrible improv comedian. I would be a great teleprompt reader when teleprompt is very well visible. Anyway, Resistance A-Wings minus ZZ. I do think, I'm kind of like on the fence with ZZ a little bit. Like, I do think, when ZZ is there with other A-Wings, I don't think ZZ is a problem. Playing with or playing against. But then when you throw ZZ with, like a mix mash of other ships, you got Rey or you got other stuff, whatever it is, Covenel, or just like a 5 or 6 ship list, and you got ZZ at 45 with Heroic and Optics. No bueno. So yeah, ZZ probably needs to shoot up, but I think the other A-Wings are fine. They're well enough to be able to win a tournament if you fly them exactly right and you get a good or average variance. But they're also, you can beat them. No matter what you fly, you can beat them. Unless you're down, then you're probably not beating them.
I'm obligated to say that I disagree with you, and that is all. That my experience. I'm telling you, if you want to beat me, bring RZ2 A-Wings. I also dislike you a little bit, but that's
is it the A-Wings or is it optics? Do you think?
Oh, if it was optics, we'd see a bunch more ships with optics on it being very successful. It's definitely the A-Wings.
It's the A-Wings.
I know. Name a ship that has a 2 attack dice turret and a tech slot.
SF.
And they also take optics.
Yeah, we argued
SF
that Crackshot Optics was the
the way to go with the 5 SFs. Yeah,
but obviously the A-Wing also has access to boost, and the SF does not, which is a big game changer.
Yeah, keeping guns on target. So. That's really the main thing, is being able to keep guns on target, where the SF is relying more on hoping you have sub-average dice to be able to kill them because they have more health. But the A-Wings 5 A-Wings are better than 5 SFs any day of the week.
It's true.
Well, now that you get ZZ, yeah.
But they're still well balanced.
Fair and balanced.
Yeah, fair and balanced by a ZZ. I dropped something.
Look, I even play A-Wings, and I kind of side with Dion a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them went up a tick. I'm not talking crazy, but because the issue is, like, they go up too much, and like the resistance faction's sitting there like, come on guys, like, we're barely in it.
I would agree that they are right now. They are the overall best performer for resistance, clearly. But Not my turn. Ryan.
Not me. Stop now. Triggered. All right. So I actually thought about this one kind of long, and mainly because some of you guys already put things on the list. But for going up, I have chosen Vader. Now, originally I was like, okay, let's look at Vader. In Extended, he's much more powerful with Afterburners. Got it. But so I was like, maybe it's Afterburners that needs to be priced by initiative. But is there any I6 that feels oppressive with Afterburners anyway? Not really. No, it's literally just Vader. So, and then we look at Hyperspace to see Vader without Afterburners is a different story. So I gotta pick battles one or the other. Still the base thing of 3 agility, chassis, his ability with 3 force is still really powerful, and we've seen that to great effect with combination cards like passive sensors and Afterburners. So I think it's still Vader himself, because we don't see Afterburners being taken to high effect on everything else. So that's why I have Vader in there as the ship to go up. I'm not looking for anything crazy though. I just think and that's the thing I kind of like about X-Wing right now. There's nothing that I like point to besides Slave 1 on Boba that's like, that needs to change by a lot. If we hit small changes across the board, we'll probably get to where we need to go. In terms of one thing I'd like to go down in points, Poe Dameron. And this kind of correlates to Vader. If we look at the current point cost of Vader with Afterburners, that's 73 points. Poe Dameron with R4 just to get only to get blue turns, which with his ability, sure, big deal, but he's not Soontir Fel that has a 4 straight to also nope out of, or a 5 straight like Kylo that's blue. And Black 1, which is almost stapled to him just to give him that out at some point, that's 72. So he is only 1 point cheaper without, people tend to throw heroic on there, but I don't tend to do that immediately. And we see Poe nowhere near as effective as Vader. And a lot of that may have to also do with that, like, his faction just doesn't have the capability of bidding as hard as other aces that are I6. So I think Poe can deserve to go down, especially since Poe seems to really only see high effectiveness when he has an ability to generate 4 attack dice outside of being range 1, whether it's toting heavy laser cannon or proton torpedoes. So at least that's where I've seen him be effective. Outside of that, Poe 3As is like the only thing I've seen him be effective without investing in that 4 gun, but even that hasn't seen a ton of successful play. Couple spots here and there, but not a ton. So correlating a little bit, Vader go up a bit, Poe down a bit. And then thing that should stay the same, Fang Fighters. I've said it for a long time that I think the Fangs are one of the most fairest ships in the game, fairest of them all. You have to know when to engage correctly, maximize the Concord Dawn. I did agree with the Skull price decrease that we got from the latest points update. That made a lot of sense. They're seeing more play, but they're not completely oppressive. They're partnering well with the Sikhs, which mentioned earlier by Marcel, he believes they should go back up. I don't know 100% yet. If they should go back up, then TIFOs should theoretically go back up. But granted, TIFOs don't have access to cannons, so maybe that's the determining factor that we're seeing. But Fang Fighters, even Fen Rao, all of them, they could stay this. I mean, all of them that are being used can stay the same. I guess you could argue Joy, Rekoff, Cad, Solus could go down, but baseline, Fangs are fine.
I disagree.
Yeah, people can retort me. I retort.
No. I agree with everything you said, Ryan. Just whatever Dion's gonna say, next.
Oh, okay.
I disagree.
I realized I was muted, so let me try that one more time. Okay, so Rekt. So going into this, one of the things that that I thought of, I immediately jumped to the Empire when talking about what do I think should go up, because we know that they have been not only the most popular faction, but also one of the most effective. If you just look at the numbers, you look at Space Jam, you look at basically Scum and Empire are two of the highest performing factions, and that's been true for a while. Now, initially, I looked at Whisper as a problem, but then I listened to Will's reasoning about passive sensors, and I you know what? He basically swayed me and said, you know what? Really, the Whisper issue really is a passive sensor issue. She gets this modifier that she wasn't designed to have. Probably should take care of that. Now, then I have to point my target somewhere else. So then I quickly moved on to a different chassis, complete different chassis, and 3 pilots specifically. And that is the TIE V1. The Inquisitor, the 5th brother, and the 7th sister. This chassis is just so extremely good. Now, I have seen some people, just start using them recently because they started realizing, oh wait, this chassis is really good. You get the evade plus the force. You're extremely defensive, right? That is good. We've seen the popularity of 5th brother being able to take that homing missile and be able to do that hit crit. I think that these 3 pilots specifically need to go up just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just the defensive nature, plus they have offensive tools. I think that the TIE V1, specifically these 3 Force users, need to go up in points. The Grand Inquisitor, he's close. I think he's close. If he has any change, it shouldn't be much. And actually, let me just go ahead and look at the actual numbers, just so that I can give a little bit more concise decision.
I believe he's
on
52.
He's 52.
I've been flying a lot of Grand, and I'll say that I think there's 2 big versions of Grand. There's one that's naked.
Yep.
And then there's one that has fire control system and a missile and a Jendon free lock and coordinate available to him.
Yeah.
And the one that pays those extra points for the missile and stuff gets pretty expensive, actually. I think that just bumps it up to a different caliber of ship.
Yeah.
And honestly, the Grand at 52 sometimes isn't worth those 52 points. So I'm saying that I agree with you.
Okay.
The Grand's pretty much fine.
Yeah, I think he's good. I think his buddies, the other quizzes, they need to go up just a little bit. Now, I expect the chat, especially if you're a first edition player, to get triggered just a little bit with what I'm about to say, but I preface it by saying, hear me out. Hear me out. So, what do I want to go down in points? That is Fenrau, not Scum Fenrau, but Rebel Fenrau. Okay, Rebel Fenrau. So for anybody who maybe doesn't remember Fenrau's ability in the Sheathipede, basically can take a stress to make it so that you can't spend tokens to modify your dice. The game, right? X-Wing, when perfectly balanced, we know that, of course, there will be mods available. You have different options in ships and different abilities. So Fenrau in the Sheathipede, I think, is too expensive right now. It is priced for the initiative. I feel like FFG went, it's initiative 6, price up. But at the same time, like I really think that it could come down in price and see some use. We saw some people recently start to add it into Rebel lists in order to try to counter Dengar. And Boba, less Boba Fett because he has some passive modifiers there. But I think with the prevalence of the Force as a modifier, which Fen Rao does nothing against, and we've discovered now how to get the tokens that we need to spend in order to modify our dice, I think it is safe. I think it is safe to bring Fen Rao down in cost. And again, Fen Rao doesn't affect the Force or any type of charge flipping. It's only token spending, which is different.
So I wonder how much, and what do you think? Because I felt the same way about Fen Rao and about a couple other ships like Ultra and a couple other ones, where their 1.0 ability and the intent for their ship was one way, but then when you started adding the Force and other non-token based mods, they kind of lost what they were intended to do. Paylob and other things.
Well, they lost their
ships
potency. They lost the potency of their ability.
Exactly. Because
now it's not. Go ahead.
Yeah, they lost their potency, and they also, they're not what they used to be. Like a Corner Jax now. I wish we had I love Carner Jax. I wish we had an Initiative 5 Carner Jax. But a Carner Jax now would be not nearly as effective as a Carner Jax 1.0, because now you have a lot of native mods that are not connected to a token.
Mm-hmm.
So everything has to be accounted for, and those Paylob is kind of tough, but everybody not named Paylob, should probably go suit like this or other ones. Now, Padme was a ship that was built with the Force and other things in mind, so she says you may not change this type of dice result versus a token. So I think that's just kind of kind of like a little bit of a blind spot that developers had when they were transitioning from 1.0 to 2.0, where they're like, okay, this ship is intended not to allow other ships to modify, but the phrasing and the wording didn't quite keep up with what was available in 2.0.
Well, you're also assuming intent, though. You're assuming that they brought Fen Rao into second edition saying he should be able to stop any modifiers, when if they already had the intent of that the Force would exist, well, no, he's not going to stop the Force.
True, but the points... That's what I'm saying.
The points say something, but then also
yeah.
One strength of Fen Rao also is the fact that he can coordinate at Initiative 6, which can be extremely strong. Putting in a boost or a barrel roll in the right place could win you or lose you a game. But I still think, even with that in mind, that he can come down at least a little bit. Give him the dash treatment I was talking about. Just a little bit at a time. Maybe start right now. Fen Rao in the Sheathipede. Let's go ahead and take a look. Again, I don't have the numbers set to my. He is 50 points.
52.
I got some numbers for you. He's 52 with R4. I'll give you that just for Initiative 6's comparison. Wedge with Crackshot is only 4 more points at 56, and Soontir with Predator is 3 more points at 55. Like, that's crazy that he's in the caliber of those ships.
Right. So just a couple points, and see where it goes. See if people what can people find in that range, but nothing too crazy, because I do admit that the Initiative 6 can still be strong with the ability and with the coordinate. Now, what do I want to stay the same? Tavson. Lieutenant Tavson in the Upsilon shuttle. Why do I want it to stay the same? Well, in the last points, he got a point hike. His points went up because he was everywhere. We know that his ability is really, really great. If you're not familiar, it's after you suffer damage, you could spend a charge to perform an action. So it's a really strong ability that allows you to just continue to multiply the options you have on the table after decisions have been made already. And that is the strength. Like when you have an ability that lets you do that, like after everybody's moved, you know the board state, and to be able to make decisions at that point, that's a strength. And of course, these Upsilons they have 12 health. They can take some damage and still end up affecting the game in the long run. So you end up like not shooting them. I mean, there's the Tavson strategy is super strong. Why do I want it to stay the same? Well, it hasn't been as prevalent. I still see play, and in a list, it is still good. I think it is at the right spot. I don't want to see it come down. FFG, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Now, my question to you in the chat and to my co-host right now, is there anything from our list that you think we're missing, where it's like, wow, I can't believe that none of us thought of this thing, which of course we're human, we're gonna forget stuff. Is there anything off the top of your mind that you're surprised it didn't show up in our list?
Other than the two, other than Vader and the Inquisitors, we didn't talk much about other Force users.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I know especially me and some others, general thoughts are Force should generally go up across the board with a lot of pilots, but it really is just a certain set of them. Soontir we didn't see. I still think Soontir should cost more than Wedge, personally. But it's weird because we've seen the decline of Republic, so it's kind of a wait and see moment. I'm still of the feeling that the Republic Jedi are on the downturn because the Imperial Aces are just in a better state to perform the same type of archetype. So if those Imperial Aces get docked a bit, what happens to the Republic? So maybe they should just stay where they are for now, mostly. Maybe a little argument Obi-Wan could go up just a tiny bit.
No.
Well, all right. So question: we see ZZ as potentially a ship that should go up because it is almost an auto include for every resistance list. Would you not see Obi-Wan as an auto include in every Republic list right now in most list building?
Yes, I would not see Obi-Wan as an auto include. I think Obi-Wan is because Plo Koon is cheaper, and
but he's not better. He's not better.
Is not as good. He's not better.
That
True, he's not better.
So strong.
The extra force and plus the ability is different. I get that whole thing, but yeah, Obi is good, but you pay for him. He's not cheap. Obi is expensive. If you get Obi with the CLT, you're giving up a lot of firepower. If you get Obi with the Delta 7, you're talking about I think, what is he, 76? I think that's where he's at, right? Just Obi naked.
Obi with just 7B? No.
What is he at?
Obi-Wan was
He's 67.
Obi-Wan. Yeah.
He's
67?
9 points cheaper than what you thought, but then what you felt in your heart.
Well, because 9 points is R2. Because I would throw R2 on there. So 76. But yeah, okay, 67. How much is Fen Rao? 76, 72? 69 or 72?
Fen Rao is 68.
68. So he is 2 points difference than Fen Rao. At Initiative 6 with all the stuff that Fen Rao does. You're in 3 agility, 4 health. Really.
Fen Rao is good in one range, though. Fen Rao is good in one range. We're talking about Scum Fen Rao,
really.
by the way.
3 agility will go a long way because 2 agility. I fly Luke Skywalker a lot, Okay, I fly Luke Skywalker a lot. And Luke Skywalker is 62 just naked, with nothing on it. Just Luke Skywalker naked, 62. And Luke Skywalker dies so easily. I fly him a lot. 2 agility makes a huge, huge difference. And Luke Skywalker's ability is 10 times better than Obi-Wan's ability. Guaranteed. I mean, the only thing that makes Obi-Wan better than Luke is the repositioning, which is strong.
That's a big difference, though.
Exactly, that's a big difference. But then you get force starved a lot easier because Luke's benefit is that he is never force starved. So I've been flying him lately with afterburners, which brings him up to 68. So him with afterburners, he's getting that repositioning ability at 68, and he is never ever hungry for force. He's always got a soft mods, no matter how many times you target him, no matter how many times he shoots.
This is maybe a better comparison point instead of Fen Rao. A Obi-Wan with Delta 7 and R2 is 76. Kylo Ren is the exact same cost. Who would you take?
Okay, you said Obi-Wan with what?
He has regen with 7B, 76 points. Kylo is also 76. Now, granted, Kylo has 2 more health, sure,
and double repositioning, and 3 agility.
3 agility with stressed double repositioning.
True, but he can focus boost or focus barrel roll. So when Obi-Wan double repositions, he's also ending up without a token to be able to keep his force from starving himself. So I think they're actually kind of comparable.
That's what I'm saying. This is a comparison here. But what a lot of people miss is when you're making that comparison, the stress matters a lot because that means Kylo cannot do 4Ks or 3 talents. Obi-Wan can still do 5Ks, 4Ks, 2 sloops after a double reposition turn.
True, but Kylo will better tank against like 2 agility, like 2 attack. Like in order to get damage into Kylo, you have to get really good dice, or you have to shoot him like 4 or 5 times.
But I think
in order to get damage into Obi-Wan, you just need to shoot him. Like I've flown Obi-Wan enough. I know, like when I flew like the world's list, Obi-Wan was the one that I never wanted to get. I always threw Rick in there. I always threw Baby Yan in there because I knew as soon as somebody targeted Obi-Wan, I was done. Like if they got Obi-Wan to like regen and run away, when he's regenning, he's not shooting, he's just running away. I knew I was done. So Kylo can stay aggressive because that 3 agility, that force, that double reposition, or that token up and reposition. So what I'm saying is they're comparable, they're similar. And if Kylo is fine, then Obi is fine. If Obi is overcosted, then Kylo is overcosted.
I don't agree, but you know what? That is the whole point of our podcast, is to give different opinions, and I don't agree with you. And Ryan doesn't agree with you. Right?
Probably nobody agrees with me.
It makes for good podcasts.
Now, just to give a couple of ships and pilots that our audience who watch live, by the way, you can always watch live on Twitch every Monday starting at 9:30. I promise we'll start on time next week, hopefully. Anakin in the Y-Wing, I'm assuming they're saying going down is something they feel that we missed.
I can agree with that. He's 60 points in a Y-Wing. That's ridiculous.
60 points of you're going to die because you're also putting 13-point proton torpedoes on there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then we have TIE defenders need to go down as a comment.
Can I say I would like TIE defenders to go down so you can take 3, but they add 2 pips so they only can take 2. Troll.
There you go. Click, click.
Dastardly.
That'd be hilarious. You could still only have 2. Awesome. Say we always forget about the TIE aggressor. Yes, we always do forget about the TIE aggressor. Points.
Isn't it 25 points now?
The FFG trying so hard. They're trying so hard,
cheap.
and we're just like,
I'm gonna have to make a note. Fly 8 of them.
I don't think they're 25. I think they're 20. They're 26.
They're 26. Get them to 25. I'll fly 8 of them.
25. Let's go.
Would you rather have an aggressor or a foe? Two agility.
I'd take
4 health?
foe.
I think I'm still taking.
Well, so hold on.
Yeah.
Is the aggressor? Wait, they are initiative 2. I take the foe. Blocking.
Yeah, because you can block. I think the aggressors honestly just need a range 3 turret. Gonna call it out right now. It's the only thing that's gonna ever save that ship.
It's true, but I would prefer it to be an aggressor only turret. Like you avoid some of the crazy combination possibilities by just saying like, we need to help this ship. It needs a range 3 turret. Here, this is TIE aggressor only.
Could you?
Sounds like a configuration that just like you may increase the range of your turret by X.
Easy,
or
baby.
Whatever.
You got it. Yes, there you go. The experimental
why not just make
aggressor.
it like why don't just make it just turret missile then? So like Y-wings couldn't take it, Skirks couldn't take it.
No,
K-wings could take it.
K-wings don't need a turret.
Well, no, current K-wings don't have a turret, so that's right.
Yeah.
they don't need one. We don't want that. We don't want that possible drama.
We don't want to live in that world.
We don't want to go back. We left that timeline a long time ago. All right, let's keep going here. Let's see some of the other ones. Ozatux was brought up as something that they think should go down. They're definitely still, I think, in first edition timeout, as well as K-Wings. They're in first edition timeout, kind of. They've gotten a little help, but Ozatux haven't gotten almost any help at all.
They should cost the same as B-Wings. Hear it now.
There you go. Moldy Crow going down is a selection. Lots of arguments about whether or not the Defender should be able to fit 2 or 3 in there. But yeah, so some great discussion in the chat. Thank you to everybody who gave their opinion. Ahsoka Gunner is another one that got brought up as something that maybe should go down. Should you be able to fit 3 decimators in a list is another question somebody asked out there, like 3 patrol leaders.
Do the same thing as the Defenders. VCXs, Defenders, and Patrol Leaders. Cheap to make 3 of them, but pip to 2.
There you So you can get 2 and something else. I like it.
I'm actually really curious to see, because I feel like that's something that FFG should do eventually, is if they're concerned about spamming of a certain ship type at a certain cost, just implement the pip values. That seems to be a good way to circumvent those issues.
There you go. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed our point change wish list. I am going to make this available for viewing after the cast. You guys can click the link in the description to see, just a visual of what we made. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to some questions of the week. We are behind on questions of the week, so I wanted to take today in order to try to get through a few. Now, with time, we're probably not going to be able to get through all of them because we do have, I think, 9 questions listed there, and we have a single list of the week that we're going to do that all of us are going to kind of give our opinion on. So that should be coming here up soon. What we're going to do is each of us will answer one of these questions. Like one person answer one question, and I think that'll keep us on time. So, except for the first one, we have to open up the first question, okay? So, if you guys haven't heard or you've been living under a rock, there is a new video game coming out called Star Wars Squadrons, which looks awesome. I mean, we're hoping that it's awesome, right? Let me go ahead and pull up the, no, I clicked the wrong thing. There we go. Star Wars Squadrons. Like it looks like it's probably going to be really cool. From what we know, it's like a 5v5. At least that's what they said in the trailer. Squadron. I actually texted the guys. It's like, hey, we already have 4 of us, and we just guessed in somebody when we play.
Squad up.
Squad up. That's right. So should be cool. Now, there was, one of the things that I always, it's human nature, right? Is you see somebody says, I got this thing. The first thing people usually like to do after initial assignment is to start comparing to what is it going to be like X or is it going to be like Y? Because what are some of the video games that are comparisons to this? We got like the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter series. What else is there?
Battlefront 2 had. Actually, I think. Yeah. Battlefront 2 is what I'm thinking of. Had space battles with the different ships. That was completely separate from the kind of ground combat that it would normally be. It was mediocre to good.
There you
Not
go.
great.
There was Rogue Squadron, I think, is another one that a lot of people really like as well. And now, I don't want to get into the whole like EA, rawr. I mean, let's talk about if you've played Fallen Order. Fallen Order comes out of EA, okay, and Fallen Order is a great game. It's fantastic. I've had a great time. Now, there are definitely some things that I know people want in there. So, for instance, we know that it's 5v5, but is it like 5v5 only multiplayer, essentially? Or is there going to be, like, campaigns? Can it be like 5v5 and us going on this set of missions?
Oh, there is. So
I guess I haven't read all of it, so go ahead and give the background. Marcel, you're not muted, by the way. Go ahead.
There is a story mode. Apparently,
confirmed?
throughout the story, confirmed.
Awesome.
There is going to be a single-player story mode. I'm not expecting much more than Battlefront 2 story mode, so take that as you will. It is going to have you play both sides of this conflict. So you're going to play both as the Rebel side and the Imperial side during this whole interweaving story. It's the New Republic, basically after 6 versus the remnants of the Empire, so before 7. So that Mandalorian time. So 5v5 for the multiplayer, from what we can tell. They talked about some of the objectives potentially being destroying enemy capital ships. I don't know how that thematically feels with 5v5 only. Like maybe it's 5v5 with some AI ships flying around you, or is it like 5v5 pitted squadrons, but then like there's more squadrons that fight each other multiple? I don't know. Unconfirmed. I actually and confirmed 4 ship types per side right now. Only Empire, only Rebels, X-Wing, A-Wing, Y-Wing, U-Wing, TIE Fighter, TIE Interceptor, TIE Bomber, TIE Reaper. Sad B-Wing not there.
DLC.
There has not been a playable B-Wing since Rogue Squadron in any Star Wars game. No Battlefront. Not this that we know of yet. There's obviously the potential for added stuff in Battlefront. The first EA Battlefront had a AI-controlled B-Wing and TIE Defender that it was upgrades. So it's existed in some capacity.
Yeah. And I think probably the reasoning for that is that the U-Wing and the Reaper are comparable. Like they were just trying to find something that fits there.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I could think of, like B-Wing and TIE Defender, heavy assault fighter. Like one of them's just faster than, the Defender. One of them's just more, sturdy, the B-Wing. I don't know. Really exciting. Cross-play. Everyone can play with each other. All VR capable. If you have a VR headset, the entire thing can be played in VR, multiplayer, or single player. It's really exciting.
It's cool. Will we be streaming some Star Wars Squadron? Probably.
Squad up.
All right, cool. So since I know people had to be worried about
it, but I just know I feel left out. That's all.
Why are you left out?
This is an open discussion. You just had to jump in.
Yeah, because I was not out, and then I came back in, and I was unmuted when there was like a bunch of noise, and then I heard "mute yourself, Marcel," and I was like, "Okay, I'm muted." So now, no, the only thing, no. Seriously speaking, no. The only thing I have about the whole 5-on-5 thing is, have any of you played the Old Republic, the MMORPG?
Yes, I did play it before.
The intro.
Okay. Yeah. So when you get like more advanced into it and you get towards the end of it, they actually do have 5-on-5 battles with a whole bunch of different like ship types and different ship models, and it's so the only thing I was gonna say is like that the 5-on-5 battle portion of it, I have not heard anything of it. All I heard, like I just kind of like came back to the mic when Ryan was saying 5-on-5. But if it's 5-on-5, Like they have modes in that for like capture the flag, and not capture the flag, but capture the base or whatever, or just deathmatch and stuff like that. It actually works out pretty well. So I know, Dion, you've been trying to play X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've been. Look, it's gonna be hard to grab.
I played yesterday a little bit by myself. I figured it out.
Look at this. See this?
Oh yeah, I have the same. I have the same one. It's under my desk.
Oh, did you buy the same one?
I did.
Okay, so I love X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. So the only thing that's really important to me, like I really enjoyed the Old Republic fighter with the mouse and the wheel, because you use the mouse and WASD for it. I just hope it's a really good joystick port. It's the only thing I care about.
Yeah, hopefully.
So I hope it's good. So I haven't seen anything else of it. I saw like the little like the 2-minute trailer that came out, but
Well, to see more, this Thursday, EA's having their event called EA Play. Starts at 4 p.m. Pacific time. They'll show all their upcoming games, but it's going to include Star Wars Squadrons. So they're going to show some gameplay. They have said that.
Like
so
actual people
we'll be able
playing,
to,
yeah.
Yep.
Should be
So
good.
I'm assuming they'll have people on stage, be like, you're the X-Wing guy, you're the Y-Wing girl, you're the whatever. And they'll probably, have a battle, and people will explain stuff to us, and we'll get all excited again.
That's right. So we'll talk about it next week if there's any big revelations. All right, let's move on here. So Kingman asks a question. Ryan, you're gonna go ahead and take this. How do people land Discord missiles? I never seem to be able to get them right. Also, I only own one, so I can't just spam them and hope for the best. Help me out.
Well, that is kind of a little bit of the problem. Discords are always better when you spam them. Covers more ground. It's a bigger area denial. But how to better land them? A lot of people, and I can't 100% say this is a mistake or wrong, but in my opinion, I see people with their formations of droids put the Discords up front, which they want to get them in that area denial closer to the enemy. I see it as a problem where people can pick them off on the fringe. They can kill them quicker. If the Discords are on your back line, that allows your front line of droids to be the blocking droids, and allows the Discords in the back line to follow them and get those Discord missiles off more likely. Now the front line droids are the blocking droids. Without knowing what kind of lists you've been looking at, obviously only including one Discord missile, being that you only include one of them means your opponent can easily key on targeting that ship. So just try and make sure when you are trying to set up for a good Discord missile that you give your Discording vulture or hyena as well as many avenues to use the 3 straight or the 3 bank, to where the combination of whatever blocking wall you're trying to put together with your front vultures can take advantage of as many of those templates to throw out the Discords as you can. So I still seen people be successful with frontline Discord missiles. I'm just against that because I'm worried about them getting picked off. They're the reliable auto damage I'm looking for in a game, and it allows me to maximize the upfront blockers if they're in the back line.
Excellent. Next question comes from One Dumb Punk 85. It says, could you go over what is, and this is for myself, what is Heroes of the Aturi cluster for newer players? I've been playing X-Wing since about September and only heard it mentioned during the Space Jam stream casually. So Heroes of the Aturi cluster is a fan-made way to play X-Wing in a campaign. So use the X-Wing rules. Came out in first edition. The idea is essentially there is an AI. There's rules for the ships where you roll a D6, a six-sided die, and there's a bunch of rules depending on your distance, what side you are on, and what the resultant die is that will determine what the enemy ships do. And you don't know that before you set your dial. So you set your dial. There's still a planning phase. And then as you go through the different missions, because there's quite a few, there's different objectives as well. You end up getting levels up. You can add different abilities to your ship. It's essentially like a campaign / RPG using X-Wing. And people have adapted it for second edition as well. All right, next question is going to be for Will. Comes from Jojo V, and it says, every tournament it seems like there's always talk about how after so many rounds played so close together, the mental fatigue becomes part of the strategy. How do you think the squad meta might change if major events were limited to playing only 4 rounds of Swiss? Will, what do you think?
Well, I do think 6 rounds is mentally fatiguing. It's one of the reasons why I had stopped playing swarms in tournaments, because I did think it was easier to play 3 ships all tournament than 8 or 7. So I can definitely see that point. And I feel like a lot of people might be in that boat, which is why Separatists, who are mainly a swarm faction, while they see less play, the players who are still committed to that and have that strategy so down pat to where it doesn't fatigue them throughout the day, those are the ones who are successful. So I definitely think it is preventing wide adaption of either like extreme, like double or triple ace, because a lot of people, that isn't their play style. So doing that for multiple rounds, being able to make the correct decision with those aces over and over and over again, so you don't lose the matches, can become fatiguing. So I think that it makes most people meet in the middle. I think we've seen an average of like 3 to 4 ships in tournaments. I think maybe the 2-ship lists have been averaging that out a little bit more. But anyways, I definitely agree that is part of the mental fatigue strategy. How it would change if major events only went to 4 rounds. We kind of seen this with, I think it was 2018's Adepticon is when that was the System Open series that it was broken up into like rounds of 3. Is that right? Do you guys remember this?
Yes. Yeah,
you made cut in that one.
Yeah, you had to have a certain number of wins in order to move on. Otherwise, it's just like you don't get to play anymore.
Right.
It was a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth, but I see where you're going.
Yeah, and that's because you had to win 2 in the first 3 rounds. So all the 3-0s and the 2-1s got to move on to another set of essentially Swiss or double elimination, which is essentially what we were playing. But we were playing it in sets of 3 rounds. Now, I could actually see that being better for tournaments, but it would have to be, it only works in those tournaments like Adepticon or Gen Con, or even Worlds, where the main event, the main X-Wing event, if you drop out of it early, there's always something else for you to do. So I think that would be advantageous there. I'm not sure if it would. I'm not sure how it would affect the strategy. I want to say that it would lean it more towards like point fortressing lists. I'm not sure exactly what you would call that these days, but it would make it so like if you're only shooting for 1 loss in 4 rounds, your MOV has to be very good in large tournaments. So I think that it would take away from, you wouldn't be playing 75 minutes at that point, you'd be playing MOV. Does that make sense? Like, it would be like as if you could just score 25 points and then keep your 100 or 200. Now I've scored 225 points or whatever, right? Like, that's decent MOV. So I think it would work in certain aspects, but overall, I think that the 6 rounds are better for determining a clearer winner. Preferably, it would go down to like every tournament should be like single elimination, or not single elimination, double elimination up until the cut. I think that might be better than Swiss. Hard to say, but I do agree with the fatigue thing. It has affected the meta in that way.
All right, and our last question that we're going to hit today, just because of time, it's going to be from Marcel, and it says, essentially, how do you bounce back from having a bad experience in X-Wing, whether that is, not happy with the way you play, or having a bad experience maybe with another player? How do you bounce back?
Yeah. So this is actually going to be probably a little bit of a. I moved it because is this good?
Sounds good.
All right. Probably a little bit of a deeper response than what he was thinking. So there's actually a couple ways to look at this question, right? And I was trying to look at my Facebook page to see if I remember the people's names, so I might mess up a couple names, so I'm sorry about that. But there's a few different elements to this, because you can be on different sides of the play experience, and they both impact how you play the rest of the tournament, and they both impact how you play X-Wing in general. So he's probably talking about, like, okay, I played against somebody and this person was a jerk, and how do I bounce back from that? Or I played and I made some really big mistakes. How do I let that go by? But I also think about, because I'm a hyper competitive player, and I really get into it. And when I'm playing, like, I really get competitive, especially at like the major events. And there's been a couple times where I'm ultra competitive and I'm just like die hard, and then after the match, I don't feel good with the way I played, whether it's win or lose. I feel like I don't think I was the best version of Marcel that I could have been, and I always make sure to go back and connect with the person that I played with, whether it's if it was online, go back and like message them. If it was in person, like find them between rounds and say, hey, you know what, that I don't feel good with the way that I behaved. I don't feel good with this, and clean that up, because a lot of people think, when this question comes up, everybody sees themselves as the victim, as like seeing themselves as the one who either did, was the recipient of being hated on, or not, was the recipient of being
like taken advantage of, or yeah.
I
get you.
But a lot of people don't have like the self-awareness to realize, like, wait, was I being a jerk in this? And I know that I have at times been the jerk in the equation, and been like, like either complained about my dice or been real rules heavy or something like that. And I mean, a lot of people have played me. A lot of people have played me. I played a lot of people, and 90% of the time I'm like super low key, and I'm like, I'll take whatever. But sometimes I get ultra competitive. So I think cleaning up the air is very important to continuing the tournament, because if you feel like you did something wrong and then you try to go to the next game, you're just not going to feel right. And also you just, you don't want to burn any bridges. So going back and like cleaning stuff up when you feel you were the person in the wrong is very important. And I think that's a lot of people that's true for a lot of people. And when we talk about it in the podcast and when we talk about it in social media, we always talk about it from the victim perspective, not the person who was actually being a jerk about it. So if I was ever a jerk to you, you know I was a jerk to you because I probably reached out to you in social media or in person and say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. That's, that was wrong. And I cleaned the air. And that kind of helps you get over it for playing the next rounds. Now, when you're on the receiving end of it, when something triggers you, whether it's your own play or whether it's, somebody, just like being real rules heavy or just being really mean about it, the way that you really bounce back from a tournament is just, at the end of the round, it's like, it's the end of the round, just get over it. It's easier to say than to do, but there's only one tournament that I've ever felt like that it ever carried over to the next round, and that was the Las Vegas, what was it? The Las Vegas one?
The Fly Better Grand Championship.
Yeah, that one, because I was 4-1, and something happened in my fifth match that by the sixth match I was still in it to make the cut, and I just like dropped on the sixth match, and I was like, you know what, you can take this match and you can win it. So there's only been one time that's ever happened to me where it carried over to the next match, but usually what happens is I just you just let it go. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, Dion, how do you let it go?
I mean, it's going to sound a little cliche, but we have... Oops, my camera stopped working. Okay, well, I'm sure it'll pop up back in a second. I promise. There you go. It's been acting weird today. Deep breathing, and I think also, like you were basically we're talking about, you need to reflect after the games and figure out why. I also know that there are people who've been triggered that, and I say this in the nicest way possible, that don't have a right to be triggered. So, for instance, if you lost an interaction because you maybe didn't. Okay, let me rearrange this. So, there's a situation where it's like, oh, I'm upset because I didn't know this rule, right? But you're competing in a premier event, right? So I didn't know X rule existed, or I didn't understand how this card worked, so I made bad decisions. Like, that's different than if, like, my opponent smacked my ship and it affected the where it's supposed to be. So it's definitely dependent on how it is. But, I mean, sometimes you just need to step away, and I don't think it's crazy as well to say sometimes you just need to step away from the tournament and just be like, you know what? I'm not having fun. I'm done. Which I know some players have done in order to make sure that you continue having fun for the future. Now, this is a topic I think in and of itself could be an entire episode. So we're gonna leave it at that. I want to leave it there. I want to leave it there. I want to leave it there. We're gonna move on. Maybe next week. Maybe it'll be our topic next week. And we're gonna go ahead and hit list of the week. So our list of the week comes from Lebo24, who is in the chat right now. And we're gonna go ahead and present his list, and all four of us are gonna give a version of what we think could be better with this list. So the list is 2 Squad 7 veterans, that's the Initiative 3 Arc 170s, with Perceptive Copilot, R3 Astromech, Proton Torpedoes, Veteran Turret Gunner, and Shield Upgrade, and then a Jedi Knight with Battle Meditation, R4 Astromech, and Calibrated Targeting, and CLT. The prompt essentially was telling us what he's trying to do, which is an Arc Alpha Strike with the Jedi Knight, I'll go ahead and give my changes to the original first. So my approach, and we tried to all take different approaches for this. My approach was I don't want to change. I want to leave the ARC 170s as the same pilot, because the first thing I saw was looking at the Squad 7 veteran is you're not using the talent slot. You might be wasting some points there, but I'm going to leave it at the Squad veteran and say, all right, let's keep the Initiative 3. The first thing I did was if the whole point is to be an alpha strike, you need to make sure that you're getting the proton torpedoes off. You don't have to worry about other stuff. I feel like there's mixed signals in this list. So I got rid of the veteran turret gunners for both of them. That brings us down to 191. Now, battle meditation, if you're not familiar with it, it allows you to do a purple coordinate, and you can go ahead and coordinate an additional friendly ship that is a generic ship, a non-limited ship. So the Jedi Knight essentially could give target locks or focuses to both the Squad 7s at the same time. But the Jedi Knight being at Initiative 3 is a problem if you're trying to get the proton torpedo off. So what I did immediately was go up. I wanted to grab Anakin, but he ends up being too expensive. So I went with Obi-Wan Kenobi in order to get the Initiative 5. That leaves us with 8 points too many. So I lost shield upgrades, and that put me at exactly 200 points. And the only really change besides pulling off upgrades I did was changing the Jedi Knight to Obi-Wan. Now you can actually get you would focus with the ARC 170's action, and then Obi-Wan at Initiative 5 could do the battle meditation coordinate to both of them in order to get the target locks out. And now you have a better chance of actually getting the target locks on the first turn and getting those proton torpedoes off. That's my version. All right, let's go ahead and bring up a fresh one. And I think Marcel is up.
Okay. All right, so you got the fresh one up there. Let me look at what I did differently. Let me bring it up to a different room because, okay, so here we go. All right, so he was trying to do the whole alpha strike thing, and I appreciate that. So I had a couple different versions, and I was telling these guys earlier, like, I had a couple different versions that would make it, like, ultra competitive and be able to do that, which included some regen, because as soon as you start adding regen, you got a winner. So he's smiling because he knows it's true. So, but anyway, we're not going the regen route. So let's do a different route. So what he wants to do is he wants to do alpha strike. He wants to throw a bunch of not alpha strike. You can't really do alpha strike if it's Initiative 3, can you? I mean, it's more like beta strike. Maybe.
Yeah. It would have to be the second turn of engagement. It'd be like, we shot because we didn't have target locks, and now.
But then I'm going to kill you, so you're not going to shoot.
I'm going to try.
Turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, so we're going to add a beta strike here with kind of an Initiative 3. I do agree with Dion on the Obi. Like, Obi he's not overcosted. Whoever was listening to Ryan is wrong. He's not overcosted, but he's not an auto include, but he's in here. All right, so let's start cleaning it up a little bit. Let's take that calibrator and throw that into a Delta 7. Let's get rid of battle meditation and get rid of that droid. Next, we're going to get rid of the shield upgrades. You don't need those. And the R3s as well. So again, what he's trying to do here, he's trying to take advantage of battle meditation to get double modded shots with multiple ships. So we're going to try to do that in a different kind of way. So we're going to actually leave the veteran turret gunner because it's nice to throw a torpedo this way and then throw a couple extra dice back that way. But one of the ships that helps you able to get additional mods and additional things is actually Jag. Not a lot of people use that. So let's take one of those squad thingamajiggies and throw it into a Jag. And what Jag allows you to do when a ship that gets shot that way or a ship that gets shot that way, if they don't target you, then you automatically get to take a target lock on the ship that shot. So, and that's a choice, so you can keep that shot. Then let's get rid of Perceptive Co-Pilot because they're expensive. And you don't need it for defense. You're rolling one agility. Just roll natties. All right. Next, let's put a crack shot. Do we want to put a crack shot? Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's put a crack shot on that squad veteran. All right, what are we at?
We're at 194.
All right. So now we are going to put synchronized console on all 3 ships.
Done. So that brings us to 197.
And let's throw R3 Astromech into Obi-Wan. All right, so the way that this works is, for those who don't know, synchronized console means after you shoot, if you have a target lock on an opponent, you can spend your target lock to pass that target lock to a friendly target. And anyway, so basically the way that this entire thing works is that the synchronized allows you to pass the target to anybody else at range 1 to 3. Obi-Wan takes the target lock at initiative 5 because he's moving last, and then he can pass it off to a friendly target. And I think it's kind of self-explanatory. So
yeah, it's utilizing the synchronized console to take care of the target locks.
Yeah, Dion, your eyes are getting sleepy, so I think they is us. I see your eyeballs, man. They're not like wide like this. They're like.
And the next change comes from Ryan. So Ryan, you took a completely different approach here.
Well, it's completely different in terms of the chassis, but the base idea still exists. So, Battle Meditation is still there on a CLT Jedi, and that Jedi is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
The not auto-include Obi-Wan Kenobi?
The not auto-include. And he's there to coordinate at I-5 to get the target locks. But this time, we can only coordinate 2 ships, but I feel like we can fit a whole nother 4th ship if we dropped all those upgrades on the arcs. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it 2 arcs with the 4th ship being something other than, I think, a base torrent. But I said, all right, well, you know who else can carry proton torpedoes? A Y-Wing. So instead, we now have 2 Red Squadron bombers with proton torpedoes. I like having the dorsals on these guys, at least to try and mimic the idea that they're similar to the Arc 170s, where you have that proton torpedo and you have that threatening extra arc when ships start to move past. So if you think you can get the guarantee the front arc shot with the Y-Wings, you can take dorsals off, and your 4th ship could be Wolf, which I did like to have. It's another Arc 170s, more beef. You have a modified shot without needing to get that lock. You have that reroll with Wolf offensively out the front, and the focus of the action taken. But to keep the dorsals, decided to go with Rick Ali. 4 points left. You can keep it for the bid to try and make sure those locks at I-5 come after opposing I-5s occur. You could put Crackshot on Rick. You could put Daredevil on Rick. I wanted to have outmaneuver Rick just because it feels more threatening when you have the main jousting Y-Wings coming in, the Rick creeping in from the side, but didn't fit if I wanted the dorsals. So it settled on Obi, Battle Meditation CLT, 2 Red Squadrons with Proton and Dorsal, and then 1 Rick Ali.
Excellent. And last but certainly not the least, William is going to give us his changes, because his version also looks very different.
Yeah. I've changed it.
Hey, where's your Obi-Wan Kenobi? Come on.
I know. Hold on, which version are you showing? Yeah. All right, so they said it couldn't be done, but you could fit a 3rd arc in there. if you don't run Obi-Wan Kenobi. So,
Or
I've chosen-
proton torpedoes. You just like what
I also
alpha strike?
Guess what? Instead of rolling 2 additional die, I'm going to roll 3 additional die by bringing the additional arc.
Fair.
All right. Now we got all the juicy tech though. So Ahsoka is nice here because I did keep the I3s. So Ahsoka can actually do this first. She can move, select one in range 1 to give her ability to give a focus. And then battle meditation as her actual action to give the other 2 focuses as well. And then because she moved first and was hopefully like range 4 or 5 of where you hope the combat is, because she's going to be completely defenseless now, burn to both of her force. And then the arcs can come in and engage, and they have crack shot, which I think is, I'm going to call that my weapon. That's my alpha strike weapon that I'm bringing. It can give you that 4th hit and hit just as hard as a proton torpedo would, more or less.
Just by erasing an evade die. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of like gaining an attack die, in my opinion. So and I think it makes them actually a better range 1 weapon than it is a range 3 weapon. Because we're not getting our locks. I guess we're still, because we're trying to do Ahsoka and then move them into range with, say, a faster maneuver to pick up locks. And they got R3s in synchronized console. So they're getting as many locks, passing around the locks as much as they can to make sure that every shot they do take is going to be hopefully modified there. They can even pass target locks to Ahsoka, which would be really nice for her CLT.
All right, awesome.
Yep.
Sorry, was there something else? Sorry, I cut you off there.
I think realistically, I would run this with Obi-Wan instead of the 3rd arc, because I think 3 arcs takes up too much board space. But if you're not doing that,
there you go. So go ahead. This is your opportunity to go ahead and vote which was your favorite change for List of the Week. 1 for Ryan, 2 for Marcel, 3 for William, 4 for Dion. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us on the stream tonight. Want to again remind you of the changes that we have with the stream. So Wednesday, we're going to start League Night at 6 p.m. Central, and then this Saturday is our very first live stream of the Gold Squadron Flight Club, where we're going to set up a couple of scrimmage matches that get commentated by myself and a friend, if their friends are available to do that, and should be tons of fun. I'm super excited. It looks like, Will, you are tied with Ryan. All right, so the beards on top prevails in the stream poll. Thank you again, everybody, for watching. Remember, if you want to watch live, remember twitch.tv/Gold Squadron Podcast. Those of you who are watching live, that sounds redundant. I get it. But don't forget to do that. Make sure to tune in, hang out. We're on that drive to try to get that Twitch partnership and get that, at least 75 people watching. We per stream. We had 75. We had actually almost 90 throughout the podcast. Right here at the end, because we started a little bit late, we had some people falling asleep, which, you know what, it happens. It happens. People start going night-night. We'll try to be on time next week. Promise. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Gold Squadron out.